everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Today, you're going to hear loud noises because my brother's home, and when my brother's home, you get loud noises. But today we have the true Episode 9, which is the Thrawn Trilogy's The Last Command by Timothy Zahn. Third book in the trilogy, and the finale to everything. So, is it good? Yes. Is it better than Dark Force Rising? Yes. Dark Force Rising is kind of a slog in places. It's not in this one, though, for the most part. Everything kind of concludes here. We have. I didn't mention in the other books, but there was this thing called Delta Source, which we were kind of introduced to in Dark Force Rising. It was something of a way of Thrawn getting information from Coruscant. We didn't know if that was a person, if that was a group, what. We figure out where Thrawn is getting his information from in this book, and it stopped. This is also the Last Command title is Palpatine's last command to Mara. Mara has to kill Luke Skywalker. She will forever have this voice in her head telling her to kill him until that is fulfilled. And it's fulfilled, in a sense, from a certain point of view, at least in a view of the command, where it's no longer an itch in her head. And that's concluded with Sabaoth and everything at the end of the book on Wayland, where you get Luke with two. It's just Luke, but to differentiate, since it's not a comic, there is a comic version, but since it's not a comic or a movie, to differentiate the two, instead of saying clone Luke every time, they just said Luke with two U's. So, but that's all that is. Using, of course, the hand that Luke Skywalker lost in Episode 5 to clone that Luke Skywalker. And of course, Thrawn's continue his campaign against the New Republic with no way of losing. He's always on top of his game, always 100%, better than everybody else, no matter what our heroes learn. He's always one step ahead. And you're like, how can they even beat this dude? Well, due to one crucial piece of information that he did not have, which is that Leia had befriended and changed the minds of the Nogri people. And once every Nogri knows this, it changes things. So for those of you who haven't read the book, I'll leave it at that. Let's just say it definitely seems as if Thrawn has nothing that could possibly make him lose. And in the most unexpected and last place he would think he could lose happens. And as his final words, but it was so artistically done. And I love that. I love that, Thrawn, as great as he was ignorant on one fact, but that one fact was crucial to his downfall. We also have Card, and earlier on, Thrawn's like, because Card's trying to get like all the smugglers and stuff together to form this like coalition to help the New Republic stop Thrawn. And Thrawn doesn't want to deal with that right now. He's got other things going on, so he just tries to sow dissent in Card's operations. So that's the whole thing in part of it. And then, of course, something foundational to the entire rest of the expanding universe moving forward is the birth of Jason and Jaina Solo in this novel. They're just born, they're just babies, they don't do anything. But it's the fact that these characters are literally birthed in this novel and the big stories and events they'll have moving forward in the future, which is just kind of crazy. I think it's one of the beauties of the expanded universe. I literally get to see Jason be born and I see his end. So it's just kind of crazy. I saw him. I read about their birth and I will read about his death. And so it's just kind of crazy that I basically get to be with these characters for their entire lives up until their end. And I just think that's kind of crazy. And again, Pellion's still great, but he's not what he will become, because it becomes one of my favorites. Here he's good, but he's I think the thing that makes him stand out, that makes him great when he reappears, is that as soon as Thrawn's out of the picture, he knows he can't win because it was all based on Thrawn's machinations, and he knows he's not Thrawn, so he just orders a retreat. I thought that was a very smart thing to do. It could have been like, no, we're gonna finish his mission, but he's like, without him, we're not gonna pull this off. So let's bail. That was a very smart move on his part. Um, all the sweet moments we get between Han and Leia are really nice with their kids. It's small little moments, like maybe a paragraph or something, but I live for those small moments where Han's just being a dad, and actually enjoying that and not going back to being a smuggler and abandoning his kid. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't try to make comparisons that much, but that was always something that really bugged me, even in episode 7, which I didn't hate. I just want to say, and I don't like making comparisons that often, but I just it's it's just really powerful that if this is the only canon and you don't even think that that would like think about the people in the 90s that there was no sequels. I have that forever in my brain, something that happened. I try as best I can to forget, but people in the 90s, they just had Han happily married with kids and reveling and being happy about that. Like, it's called character development. That's what we live for, and that's what we get. So it was nice to see. Mara, again, continues to be a great character here. I don't know what Zahn does with her in the future, but he apparently just fails at making her compelling. But she's really interesting here, and her relationship with Luke is really good. And they're not dating by the end of this or anything. There's not even really too much of a hint that they'll be romantically involved. But the dynamic here, I understand why people wanted them to be together. It makes sense, which is why it eventually would happen. Card continues to be a great character. And another character I forgot to mention in all these books, who's a really underrated character who doesn't get much love, is Gent, who's a slicer. He's basically just a computer hacker in Star Wars, but he's actually a really cool, like, kind of geeky character, and we sadly don't get too much more of him. Funny enough, he's in the Dark Nest trilogy, I think, and he helps unlock the memories of R2. But like, that's the only other time he's really of any importance. He's probably in Hand of Thrawn. I don't remember, but he's probably there. But it's just sad that we didn't get more stuff with slicers because there's other slicers like in the West End Games short stories and the adventure journals, but they're not that interesting. But Gent is, so wish we would have gotten more of him. Um, and the Nogri continue to be really cool as like a skinnier, kind of like Wookiee type of like protector for Leia and stuff, and that's really cool. And it's great because then you see them in like New Jedi Order and stuff, and they're throwing down. So it's just really cool to see them. They're a really cool species. Um, and then Sabioth is just kind of insane. I don't have too much to say about Sabioth. I think the less you know about him, the more interesting he is. But he's just crazy, and he wants to rule the galaxy because he's a crazy clone, and that's it. I mean, like I said, I read some things into the second book, but those weren't the intention, obviously. But I just thought it was interesting. But I don't know. Sabbath doesn't really do it for me. He's just kind of there. He's the least interesting part of the book for me, I think. The Sabbath, he's just crazy. That's all he is. If they were to make it, they should have made William Defoe him, because then you could just go all out crazy and be the Goblin again. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't work for me as well this time through, Sabiel, sadly. But I still enjoyed the character. He's frustratingly argumentative with Thrawn, which helps the downfall of Thrawn because this guy just doesn't listen and doesn't help his case. So there's that. Um, Lando's kind of more of a backseat here, so there's not too much to say about Lando. But overall, this is a really good finale to everything, and you can see why everybody kind of like uses this as like a pillar in the Bantam era, you know, as like all leading up to this big event. Um, is it as good as I remember it being? No, I think it has overall the trilogy has dropped for me. I think in terms of quality, I still think Heir to the Empire is really solid, more so than the other two. I like the third one. I think it's better paced than the second one. And the second one's it's good, but it's paced quite slower, and and then like that. But that first book is still really solid introduction back, I think. I think that one still holds up fairly well, minus the sardonically all the time. Um, and I guess it's just because the expanding universe is so good, and I was spoiled with so much better things like Darth Plagueis, Darth Bane, all of New Jedi Order. People are gonna hate me for this, but all of Legacy of the Force. Like, I just think these books were written better than this trilogy is. Again, they can't have existed without this trilogy, so I have to give thanks to it. But I just think that this universe evolved beyond this trilogy, and I mean that's a testament to the expanded universe. So overall, pretty solid. Moving forward, I don't know exactly what we have. I know we have a few comics focused on Boba Fett. Then we have what other people would consider the true sequel trilogy. I would consider it the second sequel trilogy, but Dark Empire, where, hey, guess what? Palpatine returns, um, which was George Lucas's idea, by the way, in case anybody goes, that's stupid. So remember that one. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.